The door does not creak. It breathes. A dull click of latch, a cool draft at ankle height, the smell of wet iron from the fire escape outside. He steps in and wipes the street from his shoes in one deliberate pause. 12 men are already there, 12 pieces of metal gleaming soft under a single tired bulb. They have been waiting long enough to mistake impatience for power. Their laughter leans forward before their bodies do. It is the kind that asks for audience, the kind that needs a target. He gives them one. He sets his hat on a clean spot of table and doesn't bother to look at their hands. The mockery is not clever. It never is. The room tries to paste courage over dread by dressing it in insult. They joke about age, about a limp he does not have, about walking alone. Some of it lands near him like dull pennies. Some of it goes past his shoulder and drops into the dust behind him. He does not answer. He does not sit. He lets them fill the air with noise and watches the air grow heavy. Immediate danger has a shape you can measure. The shape is in the set of shoulders to his left, the shallow breath in the boy with a new pistol at the far wall, the click of a safety in the second chair from the door. He hears a metal tongue prepare to speak. He hears one man call him by name and bite the last syllable as if daring it to bleed. He hears a chair leg drag and knows that what is about to wish it were iron. He remains still. The unexpected is that nothing in him answers to their timing. No flinch. No argument. No barked warning. His silence moves first. It walks past each pair of eyes and stands by the window. Their laughter hits it and falls back as if shamed by the echo. The room adjusts around him, thinking it is settling in a mockery and not noticing that the laugh has already turned defensive. In the breath between their boasts, fear turns itself to face him, unsure why it came. He is taller to them than he was at the door, not because he grew, but because he is no longer moving. Stillness in a room full of men with loaded hands is a weapon. He has carried it longer than any of them have been strong. He lets them feel the weight of it, and the first pair of eyes drop. He takes the seat he chooses, not the one closest to escape, not the one they leave open in a trick. He turns the chair slightly, so the weak leg no one noticed is under his left hand. He places his palm on the table, a flat calm beacon in a storm of hands that twitch. One man tries to stain his calm with a word sharpened for cheap applause. The applause does not come. Laughter continues, but it has lost its heels. It drags. The room breathes once as a single chest, and then breaks back into 12. They do not know it yet, but time has already left their side. The clock near the door swallows and announces the first minute. He starts by listening to the scrape of metal against psyche. The gun closest to him clicks out of worry, not decision. He notes which pockets are heavy, which backs are damp. He notes that one man near the window is looking out too often for a person who believes help is coming. He notes that no one in this room can keep a secret from the walls. Then he speaks with the smallest part of himself, the edge of his breath, a voice that sits lower than thunder but carries further. He gives them a line and not a lecture. He tells them without telling them that they are here because they crossed it. He mentions a debt they think no one knows about, a hand that reached for a community and not for a wallet, a night where a voice was raised to a woman who could not raise anyone back. He does not list names. He does not call witnesses. His words are not knives thrown across a room. They are a carefully set table, and each man finds his chair without wanting to. If anyone in the room came hungry for panic, they are fed a different meal. He does not accuse. He does not threaten to spill blood. He simply places the truth between them, as if it were a quiet animal, and waits to see who flinches. Two of them do. The ones with the loudest laughs. The insult that comes back is louder and less sure. It stumbles over bravado and lands in cheap bravura. The room chuckles the way a dog shows teeth when it does not want to fight. He lets the chuckle pass. Calm does not fail him because the rain decided to talk. He reclaims the silence and pulls it up like a chair to his table. He is not a man who believes speed is strength. He believes that patience is a bladed thing if you know where to hold it. The second minute turns on its hinge. He places something on the table without ceremony. No money. No threat written on paper. A folded handkerchief, clean and starched, as if he is about to dine and would like the table set right. He smooths it once with the side of his hand. He looks at them as though the purpose of the handkerchief is obvious. And in that look, purpose is created. A man near the corner blurts that this is comedy. The room tries to agree and cannot. He says the kitchen fire burned for the diner on 135th because he asked it to after a long day when no one else would. He says the old porter at the station had his job kept when a list came down that took men's names off as easily as dust. These are not boasts. They are facts laid plain. They are the structure the room stands on, even if it pretends otherwise. He does not explain that community is not a word in a speech, but a chain that does not break when it is pulled. He lets the room feel the tug. The man with the new pistol scratches at the web of his hand. He is not used to sweat. He is not used to having to justify why he is in a room with men who know him only by what he wants. His eyes cut from the handkerchief to the older man's face and back. He does not understand why a piece of cloth is being treated with respect. One of them speaks of territory, of who gets to stand where and take what from whom. He lets him speak. The man's voice gains inches as if growing taller could keep him from drowning. When he is finished, the room looks back at the man in the chair. The leadership in the voice across from him sounds cheap next to the weight of the man who still hasn't raised his. The third-minute taste of old wood and bad decisions. He does not ask them to unload their guns. He does something slower and more dangerous. He asks them to think about what it would sound like if they did. The room hears it. The soft metal chorus, the clink, the hollow belly of a table giving back tiny echoes. He watches the idea move through them and find a home in two men's shoulders and one man's jaw. They have been thinking of bullets as answers. He introduces them to the question. A hand on his left decides a flex. The flex is attached to a heated heart, and the heart is attached to a mouth that has forgotten its owner's age. The mouth tells him he is old. It tells him he is alone. It tells him he is not the man they heard about. He does not argue with it. He looks at the hand. The hand picks up a glass it did not intend to. This is how restraint teaches. It makes your enemy act like your friend. He stands without haste. No scrape a chair. No apology to the floor. He allows the room to see him full length. He is not imposing the way a building is imposing. He is the way a lock is imposing. Simple, impossible to move unless you know something. He steps around the table, and the room lets him. The room does not realize it is letting him. He stops by the boy with a new pistol. No threat passes between them. He straightens the boy's collar, as if he were a father in a church aisle. His thumb brushes the trigger guard, and the gun becomes less proud. He plucks the magazine like a card from a deck, presses it flat on the table next to the handkerchief. No flourish. No taunt. The room inhales sharply, as if it has just remembered that breathing has rules. He slides the empty pistol back across. He nods as though a lesson has been offered and accepted. He returns to his chair and places one index finger on the table, as if marking a page. The fourth minute is now a thing the room will remember in its bones. They try to gather heat from one another. Heat makes people loud. Loud makes people foolish. He does not interrupt. He lets them walk into their own noise until the room shatters into tangents. One speaks of respect like it's a coat you can buy. One laughs with his mouth wide enough to show a missing molar and calls him a relic. The relic in question rests easy and watches the doorframe, as if counting the layers of paint. He says he has no relish for chaos. He says Harlem is not a territory. It is a family with long arms and a memory that shames husbands and comforts sons. The men in the room do not want this, but they recognize it. They have eaten on its tables, sat under its roofs, slept safe because someone said certain streets would remain certain streets. He does not ask them to admit it. He asks only that they stop pretending they were born with those roofs over their heads. The charged one slaps the table. The slap is meant to jar. It jostles the glassware and finds his finger on the wood. He looks at the finger as if it were a compass needle pointing to the inevitable. He barely moves, and the finger stops. The man finds his own hand choosing stillness under another man's gaze. The room has not yet understood that violence does not belong to the loud. The room thinks violence is a hand that draws a pistol and empties it. He is about to show them that violence can be a refusal. The fifth minute tilts toward the floor, but does not touch it. He does not tell them what he will do. He narrows the choices they will make. He says the debt will be returned before the market opens, and the grocer with the bad hip will not have to choose between medicine and rent. He says the woman in the second building on Lenox will have a door that does not shake and a lock that stays. He says these things without hardness, and the room feels the hardness in itself crack. Amanda is right, wants this to be about pride. Pride is a thin coat when the weather turns. The man puffs. The man stands. The man raises a pistol muzzle at an angle designed to look casual and lands on a line between casual and cowardly. He does not move. He lifts his eyes, and the muzzle drops by a degree. He lowers his eyes, and the muzzle climbs back up like a coward trying stairs. Then it happens. The man with the pistol decides he will be the first to prove something that cannot be proved. He moves forward and discovers that forward has rules he did not write. A wrist is taken without the body that wears it understanding how. The pistol is no longer in his hand. The floor has it now, rolling like a coin. There is no noise, only the air remembering where the gun was a moment ago. He keeps the wrist, but not as a hostage. He holds it the way a tailor holds a sleeve, checking the fit. The man understands without words that his bones are a conversation another man has learned to finish. He does not break the wrist. He hands it back. The man takes it as if receiving something from a priest. The 6th minute learns what mercy feels like when it comes from a man you thought could not afford it. Across the room, a man who has been careful about his silence decides to test his courage now that the first surge has been swallowed. He asks who gives this man the right to tell them what to return, where to stand, when to breathe. He answers without offense. He says no one gives the right. The right is earned the hard way and kept because a neighborhood has decided its children are not attacks. He says that if they are wise, they will enjoy the fact that he prefers respect to punishment. He says if they are not, they will have all night to learn the difference. He could name the men whose shops will no longer sell to thieves with loud hands. He could point to the barber who will pretend not to see them, to the deacon who will cross the street with no hurry, but total clarity. He does not. He lets them feel the city moving around them, a slow tide that will leave them stranded if they refuse to float. He stands and walks to the window. He does not draw the curtain. He sees through it. The street below is not his to command, not as soldiers are commanded. It is his to keep, as a man keeps a promise. There is a boy on a bicycle and an old man with a newspaper and a woman with a bag of greens for supper. None of them are looking up in fear. That is a form of protection no revolver provides. He gestures, a small circle in the air, and the room sees in that circle everything it refuses to admit. The city knows him and is known by him. The city is not afraid. The men in this room are beginning to be. The 7th minute runs a hand over the back of their necks. The leader, if the room has one, has been careful with his eyes. He has kept them on the man in the chair, as if staring will turn patience soft. He has spoken less than the rest, saving his voice for when it could feel like a verdict. He lets it out now, a low thing that aims for gravity and finds it only by accident. He says the numbers favor them. 12 guns, 1 man. He says this as though arithmetic were strategy. The man in the chair listens to arithmetic and finds it a child's game. He says numbers do not account for what happens when a city leans. He says numbers do not count the mothers at windows who can call a block to a halt by simply telling a story that is true. He says numbers do not understand that if he exits this room hurt, they will not be able to buy a loaf of bread within a mile without hearing the cashier say the same 3 words. You did that. This is not a threat to bring fire. This is a promise that fire, unchecked, burns the house that holds them all. He does not beg. He does not vow revenge. He names the cost of disrespect and places the bill in the center of the table. No one reaches for it. The 8th minute is arithmetic learning shame. One of them tries to ask fair terms. The question has sweat on it. He answers with a nod that peels armor from noise. He tells them they'll go downstairs when he is ready, and they will give back what they took. They will return it to the hands it was taken from, not because of fear in a dark room, but because daylight makes promises real. They will knock on a door and speak the words that fix a lock and bind a street. He does not give them drama. He gives them a schedule. The clever one tries to bargain. Bargaining hangs in the air and finds nowhere clean to sit. He says he is not a collector of scraps. He says he is a keeper of rules. He says the rules do not change depending on who wants to eat that day. His voice does not rise. In that way, it rises higher than it would if it had shouted. He reaches for the handkerchief and picks it up and folds it once more, small or neat. The gesture is absurd to men who think iron is king. The gesture is a liturgy to a man who knows that order sustains. His hands are long and careful. He tucks the cloth into his breast pocket. He is telling them something with that movement. There is nothing here he cannot carry. The 9th minute passes like a page, turned without sound. The room is not delivered by good sense alone. Someone will insist the night earn its name. The man with the missing molar cannot stand that calm has conquered so much. He snatches for the pistol that he placed too close to his own fear. He thinks he is moving. He discovers he is being moved. The man in the chair meets him halfway, not with force, with precision. 2 fingers find the soft area behind the knuckles. He guides the hand down as if seating a child in a pew. When the cry comes, it is not loud. Pain brought in with noise, leaves with quiet. The gun skates and is caught by a shoe. He steps on it casually, the way a teacher steps on a paper airplane in a hallway. He does not have to show his teeth. The room has already counted them. He does not break the offender. He straightens him like a picture slightly crooked in a respected home. He whispers something too slow to be a threat, and the man's face goes pale in a way that admits to more than fear of pain. It admits to fear of shame. He releases him without ceremony. The man accepts his release the way the guilty accept forgiveness. Uncomfortable, unworthy, transformed. No one is laughing now. The 10th minute has taken laughter outside and left it there to cool. He sits once more. He gives them the final arrangement. Each piece placed with the same care. He gives a hat. He says the door will open when he stands, and they will follow without a shepherd's crook. He says they will prove to the street that respect is not a word in a room, but an act on a stoop. He says there will be no guns in their hands when they knock. He says that if the door does not open for them, it will be because people are sleeping, not because people are afraid. The leader's mouth opens to ask for a concession. He closes it. It is not the man in the chair who closes it. It is the weight of a neighborhood, realizing it does not need to shout to be heard. The leader studies his own reflection in the dirty window and sees a man who almost did a thing he would never escape. He blinks. He nods. The nod moves around the room like a small wind. He stands, and the room stands. There is a moment when 12 sets of hands are caught between habit and respect. Respect wins. Guns are adjusted deeper into pockets, muzzles angled to the floor. The door does not creak when it opens. It breathes in again. The hallway smells of tobacco and the kind of sweat that comes when men have to do something better than they planned. He does not look back. He does not need to. The room follows the way a tide follows the moon. Not because it is enchanted, because something in the pull is older than choice. Because Harlem bends for him without breaking. Down the stairs, with sighs and relief, as each step is spared a stumble. The bar at street level stops talking the way a church stops talking when the hymn starts. He walks through the center of eyes, and the eyes feel no need to harden. The bartender pretends to wipe a glass that is already clean, and there is a quiet in that pretense that says he knows more than he will say and respects what he knows. The night outside greets him with a chill and a streetlight that tries but fails to hum. 2 doors down, a grocer is locking his gate. He is small and careful, and the tilt of his head suggests he hears everything a block over. He sees the man they try to mock and the men who try to mock him. He turns his key without looking, and the gate drops the last inch with a click like a gavel. It is not judgment. It is agreement. The men behind him swallow. They walk toward the building whose stair rail has smooth places where 1,000 palms have polished it. A mother at a window tells her child to be still and learns she does not have to. He stops in front of the door and lets his men see it, a plain door worn smooth by need. He steps aside and waits. He does not knock. He points at a knuckle that thought it knew its business and asks it to learn something else. They knock. When the door opens, the woman's eyes go first to him, and then to the men, and then back to him. He lowers his chin an inch. That inch is a pledge the room upstairs could not make. He listens as they speak the words he arranged for them. They return what they took. They apologize without bargaining. They look at their shoes and understand why. He does not stay to be thanked. He does not turn away to dramatize his humility. He stands long enough that the weight of the fixed moment can find purchase. Then he moves, and the street moves with him. It is not the money. Money is numbers printed on paper with ink that fades. It is the shape of the apology. It is the way a street learns again that certain men will hold it upright when others try to lean on it crooked. It is the way Harlem bares its teeth only when it has to, and otherwise smiles with a mouth that has learned harder lessons. He passes a barber shop where the chairs are empty and the air smells of talc and hot steel. The barber nods without choreography. A boy, curious and unafraid, falls in beside the men briefly and then decides he would rather ride his bicycle, because the night is cool and his chain is oiled, and he does not need to practice being a man by practicing being unkind. He rides away. He is able to ride away. This is a kind of power that cannot be bought. The men behind him have lost their need to look big. They are busy with the business of not making the same mistake twice. The leader's eyes are on the sidewalk. He is counting cracks the way a man counts days until a promise is kept. He does not touch his weapon. The absence of that gesture says more than any vow. He returns to the bar. He retrieves his hat from where no one dare to move it. He dusts it with a thumb and sets it where hats go when a man knows he will be wanted again tomorrow. He does not drink. He does not dine. He does not need the room to cheer or the air to bless him. He needs only to be a man whose word walked into a room full of metal and walked out with respect, as if it were oxygen. The night keeps moving. A corner that had learned to clench unclenches. A stoop that thought it had to hold its breath exhales. Men who were sharpening stories to tell about a loud end of a legend sharpen different ones now. They talk under their breath about 10 minutes that did not use up the city's patience, that instead invested it in something that pays back in safety. Uptown, a kitchen light flickers and settles. Down the block, a pastor steps outside to feel the air and lets it tell him what kind of sermon Sunday will want. In a small room, a woman slides a bolt and knows it will stay. This is not romance. It is maintenance. It is the way a neighborhood maintains itself when the man at its center understands that power is not the right to be feared, but the capacity to keep others from having to be. He could have made a spectacle. He could have thrown men into the street by the back of their necks and let applause paint his name on brick. He does not. He keeps his name in his chest and lets it live in the way the street will say good morning to itself tomorrow. He is not interested in being a loud story. He is invested in being a quiet one that lasts. Those 12 men will tell their version. They will adjust where it makes them look less small. But the city will hold the true shape of what happened, and the shape is this. He came alone. They laughed. He did not. Afterward, he left with the room in his hand and the hands of the room in his pocket, empty of the worst of themselves. In the days that follow, there is no parade of gratitude. Gratitude hides in everyday gestures when it knows its business. The grocer wraps an extra loaf in paper and charges for one. The barber lowers a boy into a chair and gives him the cut he will remember in photographs. The conductor on the night train tips his hat to a woman he met twice and says her name like he means it. No one says why. They do not have to. The men who learned that the city could bend them without breaking them walk softer. They change streets when they do not need to. They put their guns away 2 blocks earlier than they used to. When they talk about the man who met them alone, the laugh they started with does not return to their mouths. It lives now in the memory of a room where laughter understood its limits. He moves through his days without the tremor of wanting to be seen. He shakes a hand here. He nods there. He tells a boy to keep his shoulders back as a sign that the world will not push him forward unless he asks it to. He disciplines a corner simply by glancing at it and asking the corner to be better by existing in its presence. He is not performance. He is posture. The room that held those 12 men will hold other men. It will hold cards and whiskey and arguments about little things. And every now and then, someone will slide a chair across the scuffed floor, and the sound will remind them of the night when it did not dare to call attention to itself. When this happens, someone will tell the story. They will not need to embellish. They will lower their voice on the part where the handkerchief was folded. They will be tempted to raise it on the part where the pistol slid. They will resist the temptation. The legacy of a man is not a statue. It is the muscle memory of a place. It is found in the way a door opens when it is knocked upon by hands that once took and now understand that return is a kind of prayer. It is found in the way a city's heart rate slows around a man who will not let chaos speak for it. It is found in the 10 minutes when noise learned it could be quiet in the presence of something better than fear. He never says this out loud. He would find it embarrassing to hear it phrased so high. He does not prepare speeches. He prepares rooms. He does not write slogans. He writes rules with his shoulders and his eyes, and his refusal to let a cheap victory stain a long victory. When people say his name later, they are not thinking about the gun. They are thinking about the hand that didn't have to clench, but could. 12 men who thought they were a storm found out they were weather. The man who entered alone was not an umbrella. He was a season. He brought an end to a drought of respect and a halt to a flood of insult. He let the city return to itself without having to sweep blood from stoops. In that, his authority lives long and quietly. The next time a door opens to a room with metal on the table and laughter trying to sound like certainty, the room will misremember itself and expect noise. If it is wise, it will remember him instead. It will remember that the unexpected thing is the only thing that ever changes men. A calm that will not bow, a decency that refuses to flinch, a discipline that makes fools choose sense without needing to be humiliated. The 10 minutes have long passed. They do not end. They sit under the city like a foundation you only notice when you trip. He built it in silence, in the way a man places a hat on a table and looks at 12 armed men and invites them to grow up. They did, or they began to. For a night, it was enough. For a lifetime, it is a map. He does not tell them to follow it. He shows them where it lies by the simple fact of stepping into rooms that doubt what restraint can accomplish and leaving those rooms without violence trailing after him. Respect stays. Violence sulks in the hallway, hungry and unsatisfied. Harlem sleeps. When dawn decides to show its face, the city does not change color so much as it corrects to one it prefers. Shopkeepers set bread in windows. Schoolchildren lift satchels. A bus exhales and takes the morning into its ribs. He walks somewhere men say his name without turning it into legend. He buys a paper. He thanks the boy who brings it with a glance that keeps the boy standing taller than the first page he sells. Out on the edge where last night's laughter tried to mark its territory, there is a different scrawl on the pavement. It is orders obeyed, restitution made, apology delivered. He does not read it. He does not need to. He walks past without taking credit, and the street gives it anyway, quietly, in the way it keeps its peace for another day, because he asked it to, and because he would ask again if someone forgot. This is his legacy, not a crown, not a throne, not even a chair with a shape worn into it. It is a neighborhood that knows the difference between fear and respect, and chooses the latter because he keeps giving them reasons to. It is a door that opens when knocked upon with clean hands. It is laughter that understands the time and place, and knows to take its hat off when a man like him enters. He will have other rooms to enter. He will have other minutes to measure. He will carry the same handkerchief, and the same certainty, and the same unwillingness to let a moment become a spectacle when it could become an example. The city will keep time by him not because it must, but because it wants to. That is power without a trumpet. That is dominance without a bruise. He steps into the street with a day on his shoulders and the night behind him. And the night, for once, is grateful. The door upstairs remembers. And so do the men who held metal and thought metal was the point. They know better now. The name they laughed at is the name they will be careful with. It is the one they do not speak loud in rooms where decency is challenged. It is the one they lean on without having to say they are leaning. He will walk past the window of that room again some week. He will not look up. He will not need to. The room will look down and straighten its tie. That is the unexpected thing that happened. Not the risk taken, not the pistol at heel, not even the return of stolen bills. The unexpected thing is that men who came armed left with their weapons holstered and their pride rethreaded, because a man walked in alone and taught them what power looks like when it has nothing to prove and everything to protect.